Okay, Chapter 5, Risk Return, Historical Record. This chapter represents building blocks that we're going to use throughout the rest of the semester. So it's very important that you grasp the material in this semester, in this chapter. So the first thing I'm talking about is holding period return, which we've seen in other forms, called yield, various other rate of return, so forth. It's the same calculation with just under a different name. I prefer holding period return. The holding period return, I think it describes what we're calculating better than yield or rate of return. So, but anyway, you'll see it referred to in different ways. But the form is what it is a rate of return over a given investment period. The formula looks like this. HPR, or holding period return, is simply the price you sold it for. This is also can be the price at the end of the period minus the price at the beginning of the period, or the price you bought it for, plus any income. So it doesn't necessarily have to be dividends. So you can use this formula for bonds, stocks, any investment. So this ending, beginning, because you probably imagine many scenarios where you want to calculate a return and you don't, you may not have sold that investment. So it still works even though you haven't sold that investment. Next page, we have an example. So we have what is the holding period return for a share of stock that was purchased for $25, sold for $27, and you received $1.25 in dividends. So this 27 could be just the end of the price at the end of the year. 25 could be the price at the beginning of the year, and the $1.25 could be the dividend or the coupon payment that you received during the year. Holding period return, simply the price you sold it for minus the price you bought it for plus the dividend divided by the price you bought it for. So 27 minus 25 plus $1.25 divided by 25 gives you 0.13 or 13%. We can break this down into its two components. The first component is the capital gains. So that's what we made through appreciation. The second component is the dividend yield here. So I'll draw this kind of like this. So we break it into two different fractions and we can calculate the capital gains yield. It looks like this. So 27 minus 25 divided by 25, 0.08 or 8%. The dividend yield is $1.25 divided by 25, 0.05, 5%. These two numbers, the capital gains yield and dividend yield, have to add together to equal this. If they don't equal your holding period return, you've done something wrong. So now a calculation of rates of return. We can measure rates of return three different ways. First is arithmetic average. Arithmetic average, you simply add up the returns and divide by the number of periods. So in our example, we've got 4 returns, so we add those 4 returns up and divide by 4. Geometric returns, or geometric average, is a little more complex. It's 1 plus each return. We're going to multiply each of those out and take the 4th root. That'll be a little more clear when we see the example here. It's a single per period return. It gives a same cumulative performance as a sequence of actual returns and compounded period by period returns. So, and then next, dollar weighted average. Dollar weighted average is simply an internal rate of return. And we'll see that calculation in just a second. So table 5.1 shows a mutual fund example. We've got 4 quarters and we've got a holding period returns for the 4 quarters of 10, 25, a loss of 20%, and then 20%. So for the arithmetic average, add those 4 up, divide by 4, get 8.75%. The geometric average is going to look like this. So it's 1 plus 0.1, this multiplied by 1 plus 0.25, multiplied by 1 plus a negative 0.2, multiplied by 1 plus 0.2. Multiply those out. You take the 4th root because there's 4 observations, subtract 1, and you'd get 0.0719, which is 0.719%. Now, the internal rate of return calculator has an IRR function, and it's pretty simple to use with this this calculation. You can also do it with a graphics calculator as well. So, dollar weighted returns, or IRR, is the initial. Start out here with the initial assets under management. So we look at that as an investment. That's a -1. This is actually this typo has been in this book for the last 3 versions. This should be -0.1. That's this number right here. That's an inflow. -0.5, -0.8, and then the ending balance right there is what. So those are the 3. The 4 numbers you'll use to calculate the internal rate of return. So in this case, we would calculate an IRR of 3.38%. I do suggest you plug it into the IRR function in your calculator. If you have any questions about that, contact me. But if you should be able to plug these numbers into your calculator and calculate an IRR and come up with 3.38%.